Hi. So, it's been a while. It is now January 8th of 2024. It's been a hot minute since I've made any kind of video. I remember it was around this time 2 years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'll be more active. No, I was not. But I decided that I am in a very big need for some kind of creative outlet. So why not give this YouTube thing a try again? This is actually going to be a little bit of a throwback. Way back when I decided to try my hand at making YouTube videos, I was like 17 and graduating high school. It was 2020, peak COVID. I had nothing better to do. And one of the first videos that I did was a bullet journal setup. So that is what I'm going to be revisiting today. I'm going to be setting up my 2024 New Year setup and my January monthly setup. And you're gonna see that I've actually already started using it. I just haven't actually properly set anything up. I've just outlined everything in pencil. So hopefully that isn't too bothersome. But I really wanted something to show, and I wanted an excuse to film something. So yeah, hope it works out.
So going right into materials, the bullet journal that I'll be using this year is a Sequus A5 bullet journal, which comes in this really pretty packaging and a whole lot of freebie goodies, like this thin metal ruler with a bunch of animals that are carved into it, these 2 music note paper clips, really pretty, and also to these really trippy 3D picture cards. I have absolutely no idea what I'd ever use them for, and also to these pretty paper butterfly stickers, which I will end up finding a use for eventually, and also a card with all of the holidays of the year on it, as well as a mini yearly calendar on the other side of it that I forgot to show for some reason. I got this year's journal in the design called Moon off of Amazon, and it has a felt cover, which you can tell by all the dust it's accumulated, and also too, it has 160 GSM dotted and numbered pages. I used the same journal in a different color and design last year. I love this journal. The dots aren't too light or too dark, and my pens just glide on this paper. I get very little to no ghosting. Speaking of pens, I swatched some colors for the setups. These are the colors that I'm using. Everything will be linked down in the description, by the way. And now that we have the materials out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and open up to the very first page. So the very first page in my bullet journal I use to write a letter to myself. It's a very short letter since it only covers the very first page, but I've only been doing this as a way to kind of introduce the new year by reflecting on what happened the previous year and anticipating the year ahead. I've been bullet journaling since 2019, so I was about 16 and a junior in high school, but I only started doing this letter when I was setting up my 2022 journal. At the time I was letting go of a lot of things that were weighing me down, and I wanted to write a letter to myself as a way to kind of help heal my self-talk. And 2023, it was full of some really cool changes, the biggest things being that I turned 21 and I started working as an engineering intern that summer in this really great program that will let me convert to a full-time employee after I graduate. Speaking of which, 2024 is going to be a huge year because this year I graduate uni. You heard it, kids. Your girl is finally finishing her undergrad degree in mechanical engineering in May. And so this is the year that I start transitioning from student life to post-grad life. And so because of that, there's a lot that I want to tackle this year. So let this letter be my battle cry into this next chapter of my life. And okay, well, I've been talking so much that I didn't even realize we went on to the next spread. So this next spread is my proper cover page for 2024 and my grid chart. My cover page, super simple and minimal, just a quote that says, "Welcome 2024, the one where life changes." Because it is. My life will absolutely be changing this year. I know it's pretty common for people to get super artsy and creative with their spreads in themes, but something that I've learned as a student bullet journaler is that I really need my journal to work for me. And as much as I love being super artsy and creative with my spreads and drawing doodles and stuff, it just isn't practical for me right now because of how time consuming it can get for me. I do, however, choose different colors for each month to get some variety and interest going. So hopefully I'll make more setup videos and you'll see the rainbow that I go through. Speaking of rainbow, my grid chart. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I use this chart to help me figure out spacing and sectioning for my spreads throughout my journal. I don't need it too terribly often because I recycle many of my spreads, but it's great for whenever I want to try something new. I'm using rainbow colors for the different section spacing parts, whatever you want to call them, and you'll see that I only go up to about 4 sections since that's about as small as my sections get in my spreads. The next spread is my year at a glance spread. Now, I usually go through about 2 journals in a year, so I'm only setting up the first 6 months of the year here. I put 3 months on each page, and I'm just doing the headers and days of each month. There's a lot happening these first 6 months of the year, actually. There are sibling birthdays, holidays, graduation in May, and fun fact, I'm actually going on a study abroad trip over spring break in March, so lots of exciting things happening in the first half of this year, and to think that it's already 2 weeks into 2024 as I'm doing this voiceover. Also, I'm so proud of that transition. Look at me stepping up my editing game. This next spread is my yearly goals spread for 2024. Now, in the past, this spread only took up 1 page, but since there's a lot that will be changing in my life this year, I decided to add more sections. On the left, I have my lifestyle-related goals, like my personal life, health goals, financial goals, and goals surrounding my hobbies. And on the right, I have my outside life goals, like my final academic goals, since this will be my final semester of uni, and also my professional and career goals. Beneath that are some sections for any dreams or wild manifestations that I have for this year. Now, dreams and manifestations to me are like super big goals that need a whole lot more time to accomplish, though while dreams are mostly for fun, I treat manifestations like my primary goals, the things that I want to focus the most on. I'd say my biggest goals for this year right now are to save as much money as I can this year and also lose the 30 pounds I've gained since starting college by my birthday in July. I think I can do it. I believe in myself. I've neglected a lot of the things that bring me joy in the recent few years, and that ranges from distancing myself from hobbies to working out and taking care of my body. So this year, more than anything, I'm hoping I get to nurture myself a little bit more. Speaking of hobbies and nurturing myself, this next spread is one of my favorites, my to be read and things to check out spread. I was actually an avid reader growing up. I like to say it's actually how I got my glasses because I used to read in the dark past my bedtime and I conveniently needed glasses not too long after I started doing that. I stopped reading actually way back in high school, but I reawakened my inner bookworm over spring break in 2022. 1 book turned into 10 by the end of the week, and I've just been on a roll ever since. My things to check out spread has 3 main sections for music, movies and TV shows, and anime, and a big section to make note of my favorites. I'm slowly dipping my feet into anime. My sister and I are watching Spy Family right now, and I've seen My Happy Marriage and Horimiya, so if you have any recommendations that are like those shows, please leave them for me in the comments. This next spread is also super fun, my post-grad bucket list and wish list. It's super minimal, just the headers, but there are so many things that I want to try or get back to but haven't been able to because of school, so I want to make note of everything that comes to mind. My wish list is going to consist of all the things that I want to get for myself or for my room, one of them being a proper vlogging camera so I can vlog my study abroad trip and still have use of my phone while we're moving around. I can also refer to this list for Christmas since I never know what to ask for Christmas anymore. This next spread is a little more sentimental. It's my favorite moments spread. I remember I got the inspiration for this spread from Amanda Rach Lee years ago when she first did a yearly spread where she planned to paste her favorite Polaroid pictures in for every month of the year. Now, I do not own a Polaroid camera. I would love one though. So instead, I will just be jotting down some of my favorite memories here each month, at least until the day when I do get a camera for my own. Since I am only doing the first 6 months like I did for my year at a glance spread, that's what I'm doing here. And the next 2, or the far right boxes, are for the first quarter and second quarter of the year. This concludes my yearly setup for 2024, and now we are finally moving on to my January setup. I'm using this vanilla beige taupe kind of color scheme, something soft and neutral. You can barely see the pale yellow that I used for the January calligraphy though, so you do see me drop that color later on in the setup. I have 3 main categories surrounding the monthly calendar here. They are my monthly goals, the events for the month, and the upcoming events for the next month. You can see me flipping back and referring to my grid chart pretty soon because I decided during this setup that I wanted to fill the left page with something. So I decided on a quote. I've come to find out in the recent year or so that I am a low-key Swiftie and have been for quite a while now. So I took a line from the bridge in Enchanted. This was the very first page. Is it actually the first page? No, but it is the first of the month, and that was enough correlation for me. And also because I love that song, it takes me back to being 9 years old and watching Legend of Korra shipping AMVs on YouTube. The next spread is the monthly calendar spread, and as you can see, I have already started using it. As I mentioned before, I have already started using my journal since I outlined everything in pencil beforehand, so here I'm just going in and properly doing the header, borders, and dates. Using a drafted or outlined spread in pencil isn't exactly uncommon for me, so this wasn't too big of a deal for me to use half done. I've always found this part of the spread so satisfying putting in the borders, but it can get frustrating whenever I make mistakes, like right here. Usually I let it go, but this one bothered me way too much, so I went in with some whiteout tape to fix it. I didn't notice until after that I forgot to put the headers for the days of the weekend, but not to worry, I added them in for the final flip through. Now this next spread is another simple one, my things to buy and thought dump spread. Once again, another super simple and minimal spread, literally just headers, but these come in handy whenever I have an idea come to me that I can jot down or need to take note of anything that I have to buy, like toiletries or stationery. I used to make a proper budget tracker, but I have since moved on to keeping track of my finances digitally, which I may or may not do a walkthrough eventually one day. This next spread is also just another header, but this is my memorable moment spread. I dedicate 2 pages to this spread because whenever something really great or absolutely devastating happens to me throughout the month, I take note of it here. They're kind of like mini diary entries. And now we have finally made it to the first weekly setup of January. Now, as I'm filming this and recording this, it is no longer the first week of January, but I did want to walk you through how I'm going about my weeklies right now. On the right side, we have 7 rows for each day of the week, separated into 3 columns: daily habits, events, and a to-do list from left to right. On the left side, there are 5 main categories: my weekly goals, priorities, next week's events, my primary financial objectives for the week, and my reward at the end of the week. Still trying to figure out how to set up this reward system I'm trying to create for myself, but I've found that having more motivations can encourage me to fulfill my tasks for the week. Now, for the habits, I actually got rid of my habit tracker a few years ago, but this year I'm trying out implementing daily ones, and I'm gauging them a little more subjectively than numerically. And you know, it's been working so far, and you can see that in how the second week is going on here. And here we are, the final flip through for my New Year and January 2024 setups. I'm really happy with how these spreads turned out, and I'm also really proud of how functional they are and how I was able to cater them to the lifestyle I'm leading right now and how it can help me shape the outcomes I want for this year. I hope you guys found some inspiration or motivation in some of the spreads for my more minimalistic girlies out there, and if you did, please share with me on Instagram, tag me. I would love to see what you guys come up with. My handle is @simplychantal with an underscore at the end. Please, please, please tag me. I would love to see what you guys come up with these spreads.
You made it through. I'm really proud of this setup actually. I'm very excited to actually use these spreads because for once in my life I feel like I've actually made a setup both yearly and monthly that I feel like is really practical for me and something that I can properly use. I probably mentioned it before in the voiceover, but I've always wanted to do something, you know, more artistic and more creative when doing my bullet journal setups in the past, but as a student it's just not practical for me to spend so much time setting up something. I'm hoping that honing into the more minimalistic setups that I have been for the past few years and really optimizing it for what I needed to do is going to help me a little bit in not only my final semester of uni, but also transitioning from uni to post-grad life. So yeah, I'm very excited to see where this year takes us, and I hope you come back to come with me on all the journeys that I want to take this year. So happy New Year, and I will see you guys later.